As many people would know, legendaries and mythical Pokemon has existed through, well, many outsters of time. Well, technically for the generations. Each are always depicted based off an urban legend, mythical gods and goddesses, and just plain interesting stuff, and even based on mythical and legendary figures in many different types of religions, mythology, and many other things. Throughout many with these comes many theories and legends about them, mainly theories on what they're based off of, and understandably, it's kind of difficult to say. However, every so often there has been one major question in the Pokemon universe. Is there actually a heaven and hell in Pokemon series? Now I know that's a very bizarre question, and of course it's definitely interesting. However, if there is a hell in Pokemon, which it is kind of ironic to say, the real question is, who is the devil? Who's really the devil in Pokemon? Before we truly start, let's talk about one thing straight. How the Earth of Pokemon was created. The Pokemon universe was created by Arceus, the Alpha Pokemon, mainly known as the god Pokemon. It created two separate troops, the like Guardians and Giratian trio. All six of them would literally help shape the universe into what was today, with the Guardians focusing on the mental state of people, while the Giratian trio created many things. The Giratian trio made up of three Pokemon: Palkia, Dialga, and Giratina. And each one of them focus on a different sort of idea of the 4D realm, the fourth dimension. Technically, everything else above 3D. Of course, this is because Palkia is space and Dalkia is time. And before you ask, I do want to note that 4D is considered space and time, so that's something worth noting. So Giratina was generation as antimatter. And of course, pretty much is the opposite of both of them. However, Giratina has been also accused of being the demon and the true ruler of hell, aka Satan, of Pokemon. Now, here's the thing. I won't actually deny the theory, because it's definitely interesting. But it's kind of hard to say if this is actually true or not. Because another Pokemon has somewhat routed this theory for me, and there are a bunch of other dark legendaries and mythical Pokemon that definitely rivals Giratina as the form of who is definitely the devil in Pokemon. These three Pokemon... No, wait. Sorry. Hold on for a second. Sorry, I'm blanking on it. These five Pokemon are, of course, Yveltal, Darkrai, Hoopa, Eternus, and of course, Necrozma. So let's go ahead and dive into the five main ones and see if each one of them is the more repulsive of this idea. First off, there's Darkrai, and unfortunately, he doesn't really count. In fact, there's also been the speculation that he is also the Grim Reaper, but we'll get into that why he's not in a second. Anyways, Darkrai is actually really just based off the Boogeyman, really. And he's also based off of just nightmares. Heck, his Pokemon title is Pitch Black, which is literally what he is. Well, other than the red and white thing and the eyeball. He's pretty much a nightmare, more or less. And there's also kind of an interesting theory that I may go into later, next time with the Lunar Duo. Sorry, I said Doodle. But either way, he's definitely out of the break. Same thing could be said about Yveto. While Yveto is more demon-like and also definitely creepy, let's be real, though it's kind of also my favorite legendary Pokemon, of course. Yveltal is actually more of the Grim Reaper Pokemon, but even then isn't as evil as it seems, which makes sense since, in actuality, the symbolism of the Grim Reaper isn't supposed to be portrayed as evil. It's supposed to be how routine of life cycle goes. That's why you see that in Final Destination, that the whole nerd ball game, just look it up. But either way, Yveltal is actually the true Grim Reaper of Pokemon because, well, it's obviously death. It helped move quickly of death, so, there you go. Necrozma himself is definitely also out of the board because really in actuality, it's no doubt that he's definitely no doubt not even based off of even a god. He's actually more based off prisms and black holes, and he is also very powerful. Not to mean he's not very godlike, but still, he's obviously not Satan. He's just actually just been a different deity who has lost his powers. Eternius himself is definitely a very mixed bag. In fact, he's also considered also a little bit of a Grim Reaper, but in the end, he's mostly based off of Northman mythology, similar to that of Ragnarok and many others, due to his area of where he lives, pretty much in Galar, which is based off of British. Either way, there's even also theories that he could be the missing arms to um, Arceus and all that. But either way, despite that, he's really not very much and not really very evil, unless, well, it's kind of an interesting gimmick with him. He's definitely a not very even evil Pokemon, considering what happens in the Sword and Shield. That'll leave into spoilers, but we're not going to talk about that at all. He does have a creepy hand that looks similar to the Death Hand of, any mythology, but again, I wouldn't consider him as the devil. However, the final Pokemon that definitely is the one that seems to shook up my thoughts on who's actually the devil in Pokemon is Hoopa. Now, I know good well that she or he or however you see her, whoever gender is more based off the genie in the lamp. Trust me, we all know that. However, what's interesting about Hoopa is many things. For one, he inherits all three of the dark elements from Pokemon. Before I continue that, let me explain real quick. That will be Psychic, Dark, and Ghost. Those are the three elements that are extremely dark types in Pokemon. And for you guys that's just something out of the head. But anyways, the fact that she can become both dark and ghost is definitely very suspicious. And not to mention that she is also known in her unbound form, known as the Denish Pokemon. Denish, if I'm saying that correctly, is Djinn, is another term for demon, which is technically Hoopa is the first demon Pokemon. The second was kind of with Pimp, but later on they changed it to him more as a troll rather, just kind of a side trivia. But either way, and Hoopa's mischief is very unique as well, often sending targets through loops and holes. In fact, he has so much power, as seen in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, even though it wasn't explained until it was revealed, had the ability to transport even Giratina through a loop, which by that point he was the only Pokemon to consider doing that. Finally, there are some other interesting notes. In her unbound form, she technically has 6 arms. One of them is kind of snuck in there. It's right there, but if you see the game animation, you know what I mean. Second of all, it's definitely interesting because, again, she's a demon, and her design definitely looks like, kind of devilish. And finally, the biggest thing that's interesting enough is the fact that Hoopa is also a mythical Pokemon. That is very interesting. And the biggest thing, though, as seen in the movies, even though this is kind of not very, I don't know if this count as game canon, I guess to say, but it is confirmed in the movies of her debut that it was Arceus who helped create the bottle to seal her power. It's unknown if this is actually true on if that is in the game, because again, that's kind of fishy canon, so who knows that. But he definitely looks very demon towards the Satan we all know. And before I continue, I do want to note that yes, I do see some of the other comparisons from Giratina to the Devil Satan, such as she has 6 legs, 6 ribs, and 6 spikes, kind of, and 6 wings, kind of thing. And the fact that she looks more like the biblical thing, and, all that. And she even has her world, which is like HELO and all that. Of course, I'm not even going to deny that. But there is one major thing that shoots down all of this. And that is kind of the fact that I really wouldn't think that Nintendo would go far into making a devil creature. Now, of course, obviously I can be proven wrong, especially, we just talked about a bird that is based off of death and all, but it is kind of debatable. Nevertheless, it's, to me alone, I do feel like Hoopa is more of the Satan, but let's all be honest, it could be definitely Giratina. I mean, even Bulbapedia theorized that it's more based off the biblical version of Satan. But it is definitely difficult to say. I mean, heck, I won't even say this, but another theory I have that I may explain later is the fact that I theorize Mew to be based off of Jesus, which definitely sounds like a bizarre thing to say. Believe me, it is. But to be fair, I wouldn't even think that Nintendo would put Christianity into Pokemon. This is because back in the days, Pokemon ran into controversy with, of course, the Christian censors due to the fact that, many things has happened. One of the biggest being the fact that they didn't improve to the idea of evolving, and pretty much, long story short, you can look this up. Long story short, the Christians really wanted to burn Pokemon to the pole. What's even more ironic is the fact that there was even fake news of the creator saying that he was based it off of devilation or demon worshipping, which he confirmed that wasn't the case. So it's obviously clear that he wouldn't do this, but even now today, it still is kind of controversial because, just reasons. Again, this is actually a real thing, and I'll actually link a video down below if I can find one that even shows this off, because it is a real thing. I am not making this story up. You can look this up. Even look up it on Watch Mojo Top 10 Controversial Pokemon Thing list. This is actually a fact. But what's interesting about it is also, I don't think Giratina was even originally based off that. Remember, Arceus needed to create an antimatter. And, of course, all that. And I know Arceus also banished Giratina, which, kind of leans toward that, and I'm not going to deny it. But I wouldn't think to go too far and make him truly Satan. Antimatter does balance out time and space, so they probably just needed that for, the explanation of the 4D dimensions thing here. Long story short, to my theory is it could be anything really. But obviously there's no denying that it just shows that the legendary Pokemons are based of anything. Now I'm not going to deny, I really think Giratina might be based off the devil, and there are facts to prove it. Heck, even more facts that I can even say that I can even remember. But to me, I feel like Hoopa may be also based off the devil. And I know again, it's more that it's based off of Genie of the Bottle and all that. Trust me, I know that for a fact. But it's definitely a very interesting thing to talk about. And it really is, because, it's very interesting that nowadays, probably the only true demon Pokemon we ever had was Hoopa. But for now, it's really is kind of difficult. But it just shows that Pokemon does take its ideas from many mythical and beings. And heck, even some are even more difficult to say. Like, for example, Enturius is even, like, more not just based off Ragnarok. It could be based off of many things. And even consider also be based off of death as well through its naming. And, well, it's Japanese naming, of course. And, of course, Yveltal is also based off of the tree, along with Xerius and Zygarde. So, it's definitely a very interesting theory, but, who knows who's really around. But what is good is the fact that it's kind of actually very interesting that it does kind of fall into, the whole lore of Pokemon and its gods, which is definitely intriguing. It's even intriguing that it's possible that the Ultra Beasts could be legendary Pokemon and we might not know it, and may have actually helped create a world. But that's another story for another person to talk about. But either way, one thing for sure, man, they have a lot of legendaries. Especially considering their legendaries are crazy, even though they got in the short with now, since from Creation Trio went to freaking dogs with swords and shields and a dragon. That's pretty much it. Yep, that's it.